Jets, Jets. What is going on, Jet fans? And welcome back to another episode of the Jets Ward. I am your host, Ryan Ward, and I'm so excited to be back with you guys. I got a fun one for you guys for this episode. But before we get into that, if you have been here before, welcome back. You know I always love having you guys hanging out with me in the Jets Ward. You are always welcome here. And if you are new here, welcome. If you're a Jets fan or a fan of another team, you are always welcome here no matter what. Even if you're just a casual fan wanting to learn the game of football, this is a safe space for you. So, like I said, I got a fun one for you guys. And with training camp right around the corner, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about one move I think each team needs to make or should make, in my opinion. Now, you guys could disagree. That's okay. If you disagree with anything that I say in the video, please leave comments. Or if you want to share your opinions. I always love hearing from you guys down in the comment section. And I always try to answer back as soon as I can. But I appreciate it. It helps bring out. I love hearing your opinions. I love hearing what you guys have to say. Whether you agree with me or not, whether you're a Jets fan or not. I love hearing you guys comment down in the comment section. But getting into it, I am going to start off with the New England Patriots. The one thing I think they need to do is sign a new defensive tackle. And one that is out there is a guy who I'm shocked is still out there, Raekwon Davis. He is a beast of a man. He's a very large individual. Played for the Indianapolis Colts last year. Didn't have the best season, but he is a serviceable defensive tackle. And right now, one of the biggest weaknesses on the Patriots defense is their defensive tackle position, the interior defensive line. They traded away Devon Godchow to the Saints and really haven't added much to that line core at this point. So I think bringing in Raekwon Davis could be a very big thing for them. He could give them stability on that defensive line, and he's just a mountain of a man who has some speed, who can add some pass rush to that defensive line and add some run stuffing ability as well. So Raekwon Davis, I think the Patriots would make a lot of sense for him. I think he would make a lot of sense for them. And I think Mike Vrabel would love to have a big man like this in the center of his defensive line. Now, going into the next one, this is an obvious one. This one has been one that we know is going to happen. We just don't know when. And that is the Miami Dolphins need to trade away Jalen Ramsey. He's taken up too much of their contract already. He wants to leave. They want him to leave. Make it happen. This has been going on a little bit too long, in my opinion. We know he's going to get traded. Try to figure out what you can get for him and trade him. It'll help out the team. It'll help out getting you more draft picks and saving some money as well. So the Dolphins, not going to sugarcoat it, trade Jalen Ramsey. That is the move that I think they need to do. He doesn't want to be there. They don't want him there. Trade him. So continuing on. The next guy that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to continue with the Buffalo Bills. The big move that I think they need to make is extend James Cook. Now, I know you don't typically extend running backs, young running backs, because running back position is a tougher one in the NFL. You're getting beaten up through the years, and a lot of teams like to run the ball a ton. James Cook is still a young running back. He had a breakout season last year for the Buffalo Bills, and he's been holding out. He held out of OTAs. He's been coming to he went to the mandatory mini camps and everything, but it's getting really tense between the Buffalo Bills and James Cook. There are some issues starting to boil. He wants a new contract, and the Buffalo Bills, we don't know if they're interested in it. I think they need to extend him because other than Josh Allen, their receiving core isn't elite. They got Jordan Palmer. They got Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Elijah Moore. They all have all these pieces that are solid pieces, but none of them are a number one weapon. They have Dalton Kincaid as number one tight end who had a down season last year. Dawson Knox as well. James Cook, other than Josh Allen, was their offense last year. And he's a solid young running back who can run really well, but can also block a little bit and is a good receiver coming out of the backfield as well. So I think they need to add to that offense, do what they need to do to try to bring him back. I think James Cook needs to be extended by the Buffalo Bills. Now, next one that I'm going to do is Jets we need to extend Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. This needs to happen. We know that they're in contract extensions. Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner have both expressed that they want to be Jets long-term. They want to be what changes this organization. The Jets need to make it happen. These guys are the heartbeats of our offense and our defense. Garrett Wilson being the best player on our offense, Sauce being the best player on our defense. They need to get signed. Darren Muji and AG have to do something to keep these guys in the building. I know we exercised their fifth-year contract, so they're still here for this year and next year, but it shouldn't even get to that. We need to extend these guys, and I'm really hoping they get extended before the mandatory training camp begins. So I'm really hoping that Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner extensions are right around the corner. This is what the Jets need to do. We can't keep losing more young pieces. And AG and Darren Muji both said in their opening press conferences, the biggest thing we want is to keep young talent here. These are two of the best young talents we have in the NFL on our team. Keep them here. That's what they need to do. That's the move that the Jets need to do. Now, continuing on, we are going to go to the Atlanta Falcons, and this is an obvious one too. They need to trade Kirk Cousins. You can't have a multi-million-dollar quarterback being a backup. Michael Penix, as we know, is the starting quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins lost the job to him last year. Kirk Cousins needs to be traded. There are teams that could use a quarterback. I would say the Saints, but I don't think the Falcons are going to trade him to the Saints. I would have said Pittsburgh, but now they have Aaron Rodgers. What are other teams that need him? There's a lot. Anybody could use his services. Maybe he can go back to Minnesota to be a backup to J.J. McCarthy, maybe, or to give McCarthy more time if the Vikings aren't that sold on him. Colts could definitely use his starting quarterback ability. Anthony Richardson is injury prone right now. He's injured again. Daniel Jones, he's looking great in OTAs and mandatory minicamp, but we know what Daniel Jones is. He's not an elite quarterback. Kirk Cousins would add some juice to that Indianapolis Colts offense. So I think in this move, Atlanta needs to trade Kirk Cousins. It would save them a lot of money as well. Continuing on. The Carolina Panthers. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I had this pulled up. I did my research. I was looking at what team needs are, depth charts and everything. I like to do my research to make sure that I come to you guys with knowledge. And I like to think of myself as a very knowledgeable person, not only when it comes to the New York Jets, but when it comes to any NFL team. I like to know the players on their teams. I like to know the coaches and everything. I originally had the Carolina Panthers signing Jaire Alexander, but little to my knowledge, the Baltimore Ravens somehow just keep getting better and better on defense. Jaire Alexander signed a 1-year, $6 million deal with the Baltimore Ravens, so kudos to him. I also thought that he could have gone to the Texans, but Texans signed Damon Arnett, cornerback, who was a few years ago with the Raiders, who was drafted by them, who had a lot of issues, but made his comeback. Now he's going to be a Texan. So I was looking at the free agents so far, and I know Carolina needs another cornerback because other than J.C. Horn over there, who can get injured a decent amount, they don't really have much in the cornerback position. So who is a serviceable cornerback too? You could have gone Stephon Gilmore again. You could have gone C.J. Henderson. He's still out there. You could have gone a lot of different routes. But I think the serviceable guy for them who would help out the young guys there too, Mike Hilton, former Steeler and former Bengal. He played for the Bengals last year. He was solid. He was all right for them. He's not a number one cornerback anymore. He's a solid number two. Could play in the slot, can play outside. Good man coverage, better in zone. I think he fits the Carolina defense a lot more. He's aggressive. He's not afraid to tackle people. And he's just a fun guy to watch out there. And I think Carolina would love to have Mike Hilton on their team. And I think he could be a very good number two cornerback for them. So Mike Hilton, I think the Carolina Panthers need to sign him. Now, continuing on. I get to the Saints, and this is an obvious one too. We hear the rumors, we hear the Saints players saying they want this to happen. Jameis Winston getting traded back to the New Orleans Saints. They need a quarterback. Jameis Winston has played there before. The players love him there. The fans love him there. He needs to get traded. There's no point in keeping him on a roster that has Russell Wilson, who's looking like he's going to be their starting quarterback, and then having Jackson Dart, who's looking like he's going to be the number 2 quarterback. Jameis Winston did not sign there to be a number 3 quarterback. Tommy DeVito's there too. Do they cut down Tommy DeVito and have Jameis there as the number 3 quarterback? He's not going to want that. He signed there. He was the first quarterback they brought in, thinking that he was going to have a starting job, that he was going to be the number 1 quarterback. Then they bring in Russell Wilson. Then they draft Jackson Dart. Then they re-sign Tommy DeVito. Jameis Winston needs a fresh start, and what better way to do that for him than send him back to the Saints, where he was beloved by them. After Teddy Bridgewater left, after Breeze left, he could go stabilize that young quarterback room for the New Orleans Saints and give Tyler Shuck a year to sit behind him so that he can learn the offense as well. Jameis Winston is a good, solid number 1 QB option. Not the best. He would be on one of the bottom ranks of it, but he's serviceable. He's aggressive, has a good arm, and he makes some great decisions and electric plays. Does have the boneheaded plays a lot of the time too, throws a lot of picks, but he's very exciting to watch, and he would make the Saints watchable and make them be a threat there. They have weapons there. So he could be a solid option for the New Orleans Saints. They need a quarterback. Jameis Winston makes tons of sense for the New Orleans Saints. Then we get to the Buccaneers. One of the biggest issues with the Buccaneers right now is that defensive backs core, specifically the free safety position. Well, there is a veteran free agent free safety out there that is still looking for a job. Buccaneers aren't that many pieces away. They have the offense, which is getting better with the rookies, with drafting the rookie Emeka Egbuka, who's looking great there in OTAs and minicamp. Bring in a veteran safety to stabilize that young cornerback room and young defensive backs room. Justin Simmons makes a lot of sense. He wants to go to somewhere where he can win a championship. Can the Buccaneers win a championship? It's going to be tougher with having to go against the Eagles, having to go against the Commanders, the Lions. But NFL, anything could happen. I think Justin Simmons gives them that veteran leadership in the defensive backs room and really gives them some stability. Had a down year with the Falcons. He wants to have a bounce back year and prove that he can still play. So Justin Simmons to the Buccaneers, I think, would make a lot of sense, and I think they should get that done. Then we get to the next move, the Baltimore Ravens. They made a big move signing Jair Alexander today, but I think that the big move that they need to make is trading Mark Andrews. He's still a solid tight end, but he's not the future for the Baltimore Ravens. That belongs to Isaiah Likely, who I think is going to end up being their number 1 cornerback. And it seems like Lamar loves throwing Likely the ball too because of how electric he is. He's not going to be your blocking tight end. He's going to be your receiving tight end. But I think he's just going to usurp Mark Andrews. And Mark Andrews seems to be on the downside of his career as well. I think a new opportunity for him to still show up, show out, just like Zach Ertz has. Zach Ertz bounced around from the Eagles. He started with the Eagles, got traded to the Cardinals. Then now he's surviving and thriving on the Commanders and looking really, really good. I think Mark Andrews being on another team could rejuvenate his career and really help him out as well. So I think the Ravens need to trade Mark Andrews. They can get some good capital back for him, and he can get a fresh start somewhere else. Maybe the Giants or maybe the Jets, because I know we signed Mason or drafted Mason Taylor, but other than Mason Taylor, we have Jeremy Ruckert and Stone Smart and Zach Kuntz. Not really ideal, in my opinion. Mark Andrews could be another solid weapon for the New York Jets. Giants, I think, are in more desperate need for a tight end because Theo Johnson's their starting tight end. I don't know if he's that good. Mark Andrews could thrive somewhere else, rejuvenate his career, and be helpful for a young QB or even a veteran QB. So that is what I think the Baltimore Ravens need to do for both them and for Mark Andrews. Then we get to the Steelers. I think they need to trade for Chris Olave. if Olave is available, they have to do what they can to trade for him, because other than DK Metcalf being your number one receiver, you got Calvin Austin, don't know what he is yet. Roman Wilson, don't know what he is yet. Pat Freiermuth, who I like a lot, but they were trying to trade for Jonnu Smith because they don't trust Pat Freiermuth for some reason. Darnell Washington as their backup tight end. Not a great blocker, not an okay receiver used as a red zone threat. They need another weapon, especially now that you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, who's not as young as he used to be and doesn't maneuver around the pocket as well as he used to. If you get him Chris Olave, who's a good shifty receiver, who's got great speed and when healthy can be an elite wide receiver, I think he complements DK Metcalf so much. And I think the Steelers need to do what they can to get another option, a 1B option for DK Metcalf. And that would have a dynamic wide receiver core that would give defenses headaches. So I think trading for Chris Olave is something the Steelers must do, especially if the Saints are going to be in a rebuilding year. I don't think Chris Olave would want to do that again. Okay, so Steelers should trade for Chris Olave. Continuing on. Got the Bengals. They need to extend Trey Hendrickson. It's been too long. Their defense was garbage last year. We all know that. He was the best spot of that defense last year, especially now with their rookie Shamar Stewart, who is holding out, who is talking about going back into next year's draft, or the Bengals relieving his rights to the team and him going to somewhere else. It's crazy with that whole situation with the Bengals. They need more defensive help. Trey Hendrickson was the best one on that defense last year. He was the heartbeat of that defense. They have resumed contract talks, but they need to extend him. They need to. They already worked on their offense, getting Chase back, T. Higgins back, Jamar Burrow. Joe Burrow was happy about that. Now you need to solidify that defense. Get Hendrickson back on that team and get him ready for training camp, because the Bengals need any defensive help they can get. So getting Trey Hendrickson should be a number one priority right now for the Cincinnati Bengals. Then we get to the Cleveland Browns. They have a good amount of needs. The quarterback, there's a big quarterback competition there with Shedeur Sanders, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel. The offense is okay. I think the defense, other than Myles Garrett on the edge rushing, and they have Mason Graham at defensive tackle, they need some more pass rush. And there's a guy out there. I thought about Jadeveon Clowney going back there. I don't think he's going to go back there. Za'Darius Smith, I don't think ends up back there either. Guy out there who I think could make a lot of sense for them, who was really good for the Patriots, had an okay season with the Falcons, not great. Matt Judon, who can play outside linebacker, but it could also play a standing up edge rusher as well, who is aggressive, who's not going to be your every down pass rusher. He can be a situational guy, especially with him aging. But having Myles Garrett out there, it puts so much pressure on the defense. Matt Judon can still get home and get to the quarterback. I think he could make a lot of sense for the Cleveland Browns to solidify that defense and give them another edge rusher as well, and some linebacker depth as well too if they need that. Okay, especially since Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah got hurt, and I think he might be out for the season. So this could be a good move for the Cleveland Browns, in my opinion. Then we get to the Seahawks. And one thing that I was researching, I was looking at, Seahawks need linebacking help. And one player that's still out there is a still younger guy too, not too old. Kaiser White, who played for the Cardinals last year. He's a very underrated linebacker, in my opinion. He's quick, he can cover, gets home, can blitz, and everything. Not great in the run stuffing game, but as a coverage linebacker, he's pretty solid. He can play on the outside. You can move him into the middle if you need him to, but he's much better on the outside as an outside linebacker, probably weak side linebacker, because he's not the biggest guy. But with that speed, he can be a threat on that defense, and you can see the captain, the C on his jersey as well. He was a captain of that team. He is a leader and somebody who I can think brings some leadership to that Seattle Seahawks defense, and going against his old team too is always fun as well. Just ask any player who gets to play against their old team. They love it. They might not say it in public, but they love to play against them. Okay, so Kaiser White going to the Seattle Seahawks, I think could make a lot of sense for the Seahawks, especially with their thin linebacking room. So continuing on, we get to the 49ers, and this one has been rumored all offseason. Those rumors have sort of died down now, but with the emergence of Juwan Jennings, looking like he's going to be their number one wide receiver, I think Brandon Ayuk needs a new start. He's been unhappy with the 49ers for a while now, leading back to the contract extension leading up, where his family was saying he doesn't want to be in San Francisco anymore. Then he got paid. Then he got hurt. Now he's not happy with the contract. There's no pleasing the guy in San Francisco, but he's still elite. He's still really, really good. If he's healthy, he is an elite wide receiver, probably one of the top 5, top 10 wide receivers in the league. I think he needs to get a fresh start. And I think there are many teams who would love to have his services. He could be a number 1 receiver. He could be a solid 1B receiver, number 2 option, depending on who your number 1 receiver is. But I think Brandon Ayuk, the 49ers need to part ways with him. They need to trade him. I think trading him, they'll get a good amount back for him, but they'll also be out of a headache as well, because it's been frustrating between the Niners and Brandon Ayuk. I think he's been frustrated as well. I think both parties just need to part, and trading him, I think, would be the best thing that the San Francisco 49ers need to do. And continuing on, Arizona Cardinals. They need receiver help. They have Marvin Harrison Jr. They have a really solid tight end as well, who I can't think of at the top of my head. But other than that, their weapons, they're very thin at weapons. Greg Dortch, okay, solid slot receiver maybe. Great kick returner and punt returner. They need another receiver. Amari Cooper's still out there. I think he would fit that team. Bring that veteran leadership in, be a threat for Kyler Murray to use. Had a down year for Buffalo, wants to prove that he's still got what it takes to be a great receiver in this league. When healthy, I think he can have a bounce back year. And I think the Cardinals would be a solid place to go and rejuvenate his career as well. So I think the Cardinals and Amari Cooper make a ton of sense. So I think the Cardinals need to go for him. Then we get into the next one. I already brought him up with the Cardinals needing to trade this guy. I think the Rams need to trade for Jalen Ramsey. They need to bring him back. He was elite for them. They already show a willingness that they want to get him back. So there's an interest there. Work out a deal, Miami and Los Angeles. You can make this happen. Jalen Ramsey, I think, would be a lot happier back with the Rams, and it would put him back into possible Super Bowl contention as well. The Rams were very, very close last year. They just ran into a juggernaut of the Eagles, and they almost beat the Eagles. But some issues went on in the last couple minutes of the game, and they ended up losing. But the Rams, with Stafford as their quarterback and now a revamped wide receiving room over there, getting Jalen Ramsey, who's an elite cornerback still, not top 3, not top 5, but still top 10, bringing that tenacity and that aggressiveness over. He's getting older. He doesn't have the same speed that he had years ago, but I think he would still bring a veteran leadership to that cornerback room, that defensive back room, and I think he wants to go back there. I think the Rams want him back, and the Dolphins, we know, just want to trade him. So I think this is a match made in heaven for Jalen Ramsey and the Rams. Next one, continuing with the cornerbacks, going into the Vikings. I think the Vikings don't have a lot of weaknesses. Offense, they revamped their offensive line. Their TJ Hawkinson still a solid number 1 tight end. The receiving core, we know that's not a weakness at all with them. JJ McCarthy, looking like he's going to be their number 1 quarterback. They trust him. They have a lot of faith, they're saying, in him. Defense, you look at them. Defensive front, not awful. The linebacking core, pretty solid. Defensive backs room, that's their weakness. The cornerback room. There's a free agent still out there, Kendall Fuller, who has dealt with some injuries in his career, but I think he can bring a veteran leadership to that Vikings cornerback room and could be their number 1 or number 2 cornerback over there and help that defense just get better and better to make it more elite than it was last year. And I think Brian Flores would love to have a guy like this on his defense who is a leader and a solid teammate, good locker room guy. Bring him in for the Vikings, and I think he could be amazing for them. Very, very good option for them as cornerback 1 or cornerback 2. Next, Get to the Lions. And again, another team that doesn't have a ton of weaknesses. Offensively, they could get a center. Glass now retired out of nowhere, but I think they're going to use internal pieces to fit that role for center. Defensive-wise, their defensive front is solid. Cornerbacks and DBs are solid as well. Linebacking core I found to be their weakness. And there's still a really good linebacker out there who's still young, Juwan Bentley, who was cut released from the Patriots this offseason. I think he could be a solid option for them and bring aggressiveness to that defense. And again, could play on the outside, predominantly played in the middle of the defense. I think he could be a really great option for them and give them more tenacity and more ferociousness to that defense that was already so aggressive last year. And leadership as well. So I think Juwan Bentley makes tons of sense for the Detroit Lions. Now, continuing on, we get to the Bears. And the Bears could use a lot of different pieces, in my opinion. They could use some work on defense. They could use some work on offense. The receiving core is solid, but their tackles aren't the best, so they could use some tackle help. But no team is going to willingly trade a tackle right now that's worth their grain, that's worth it. And there's not a lot of great free agent tackles still out there. But what I think could be beneficial, the quarterback room of the Chicago Bears is young. All right. I think they should bring in a veteran quarterback who played in Detroit last year, who they signed to be more of a veteran presence for the Detroit Lions to help out with the younger quarterbacks. He knows the system for Ben Johnson. I think they need to bring in Teddy Bridgewater as their backup quarterback. He could really help Caleb Williams, mentor him, teach him the ways of the NFL, and teach him how to be a starting quarterback that we all think he should be, an elite starting quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater has had a lot of success in his career in the NFL, has been a journeyman as well. Played for the Vikings, then the Jets, then the Saints, then I think he was with the Browns, I think he went to as well. Browns, he went to Detroit. He's Miami. He's bounced around a ton and knows a lot of different offenses. But just recently in Detroit, in that Ben Johnson offense, he could help teach it to Caleb Williams and help him grow as well. And I'll use this one as an example. Jaden Daniels came in as a young rookie, started out, it was rough for him in the beginning, but he had an elite mentor, in my opinion, behind him. Marcus Mariota, another journeyman in this league, has helped Jaden Daniels get better and better each week, taught him, helped him learn, answered his questions, worked with him. I think Teddy Bridgewater would be the same way with Caleb Williams and would really, really, really help him out and really help this Bears team out as well. So I think Teddy Bridgewater makes a ton of sense for the Chicago Bears as their backup quarterback. Continuing on, get to the Packers. This is an obvious one. They cut Jaire Alexander. They need another cornerback. Rasul Douglas was in Green Bay and was solid for Green Bay. He knows the team. He knows the players. The fans loved him as well. He's still solid as well. Could be number one cornerback. Could be another number two cornerback. Rasul Douglas just makes too much sense for the Green Bay Packers. So I think they should really bring him back. I think that would be a great option for them. So Rasul Douglas back with the Green Bay Packers, in my opinion. Then we get to the Jaguars, and this one has been a rumor as well. Jaguars need to trade Travis Etienne. There are a lot of teams that would love his services. Chicago Bears, who I've already mentioned, will need a new running back to align with DeAndre Swift. I think Travis Etienne can complement him being that receiving running back. Not going to help you block. Has dealt with injuries, but has never lived up to the expectations that that we thought he was when he got drafted by the Jaguars. I think a fresh start would be great for him, and I honestly think the Jaguars need to trade him. Not cut him, but trade him. Get more pieces back and start fresh with the new running backs that you have brought in. Continuing on, we get to the Titans, and this is an obvious one. Trade Will Levis. He is not your future. I don't think he's going to be your backup quarterback either. There are teams that could use another solid backup quarterback, and you get as long as you can get something for him. We already know Cam Ward is the starter there. Will Levis doesn't really have a future with the Tennessee Titans, so I think trading him is in the best interest of him and the Tennessee Titans at this point. Next, we got the Texans. One of the biggest weaknesses the Texans have is protecting CJ Stroud. They traded their best offensive lineman, Laramie Tunsil, to the Commanders. They tried to bring pieces in, Laken Tomlinson as your starting left guard. Okay. Brandon Sheriff is still a really good guard out there. He has dealt with injuries, but he's still solid and can be better than what you have currently. So I think the Texans, if they want to help CJ Stroud and give him more time, you need to sign a really solid guard who's going to protect you, who's solid in the run blocking and can pass block it solidly. Get him another offensive lineman. Brandon Sheriff is the guy for that, especially since the Texans are in a win now mode. Bring him in, help him out, help CJ Stroud out, protect the man so he doesn't get crushed like he did last year. Then I got the Colts. And I mentioned this guy's name earlier, Anthony Richardson. I don't know if the Colts really want him anymore. He's dealing with injuries again. Didn't look great in OTAs. Did not look great in the mini camps. Dealing with injuries. Daniel Jones has been thriving. And if he loses the competition to Daniel Jones, I think that just marks the end of Anthony Richardson's tenure in Indianapolis. I think it would be good for him to get a fresh start somewhere else. And I think it would be solid for the Colts as well. Some team will look at this guy and be like, the Colts ruined him. There's something in there that we can take and we can utilize. With all the talent he has, a cannon of an arm, the speed he has, it's just the processing and footwork that needs to be worked on. And there's teams that would bank on that. Hell, we talked about that with Sam Darnold when we traded him to the Panthers. Everybody said it was the Jets who ruined him. They don't know how to build quarterbacks. They went to the Panthers, still struggled. But there are going to be teams that think they can fix him. So I think the Colts need to trade him, see what they can get from him for him. Continuing on. Chargers. I think this is only a matter of time that's going to happen. Their number one receiver for the Chargers is Ladd McConkey, who is solid. But then you have Krishan Johnson, who we don't even know if he's going to make the team, who has been up for trade rumors. Keenan Allen has been linked to the Chargers. He had his whole career with the Chargers except for last year with the Chicago Bears. I think it's time for Keenan Allen to come home and play out his final years in the league as a Charger. I think he would love it. I think the Chargers would love to have him back. I think he's a solid complement to Ladd McConkey as well. And I think that's just something that they would need to do. Bring Keenan Allen back in. And I don't think he's going to cost you a lot either. And it would be a solid receiver option for the Chargers as well. Number 2 wide receiver for them. Then the next one, the Broncos. This one has been brought up as well, and I'm interested to see what ends up happening because there weren't a lot of weaknesses for the Denver Broncos. They brought in J.K. Dobbins as a running back. That was the biggest hole that they needed, but now it's him and R.J. Harvey who are competing for the starting running back roles. You could argue tight end, but they brought in Evan Ingram, wide receiver 2 maybe, behind Cortland Sutton, but there's still some solid pieces there. The one that people have been bringing up is possible trade of John Franklin Myers, JFM. And honestly, I think there would be a ton of teams that would be interested in him. Can play on the interior defensive line, can play as an edge rusher as well. Solid in the run game, great in pass rush. He's just an overall great player. And as Jets fans, we loved him, and we were so mad when we traded him away. We didn't think it made sense, and we didn't really get much for him either. So his contract is coming up very soon. I think the Broncos, I don't think they're going to try to re-sign him. So I think the best thing for them and for him to trade him and send him somewhere where he might get another contract. All right. Somebody that will trade for, or somebody that will sign him to a long-term deal. Maybe the Packers. I think the Packers could use more edge rush help and help on that defensive line next to Kenny Clark. So that could be a solid piece for them. All right. But I think the Broncos, their move that they need to make is trading JFM to get what they can for him. Then we get to the Raiders, and I already brought this guy up. I'm not going to harp on it as well. The Raiders need a number 1 receiver. Jacoby Myers, I say it all the time. He's a good receiver, really good receiver, but he's a wide receiver too on most teams. He honestly is. He's got talent. He's solid, but he's not elite. The Raiders need a number one receiver. Brandon Ayuk could be that guy. I think the Raiders need to trade for Brandon Ayuk to bring in that number one option. And then I think Jakobi Meyers will thrive having somebody not taking the brunt of everything. So they got Brock Bowers, Brandon Ayuk, and Jakobi Meyers. I think could be a solid offense. So I think the Raiders need to add another weapon, especially with Genty as their running back now. Brandon Ayuk, I think, is the weapon that they need to add. They need to trade for him. It's probably going to cost a pretty penny, but I think the Raiders need to make that cost to bring in another dynamic weapon for Geno Smith. And continuing on, we got to the Chiefs, and this is a big one, in my opinion. The Chiefs trading for Kyle Pitts. I honestly think Travis Kelce's probably going to retire after this year. Who's your backup tight end? I don't think your options are really great for the Chiefs. But if you trade for Kyle Pitts, you give Mahomes another solid weapon. And I think Kyle Pitts could thrive in that offense. I think Andy Reid could open up so many possibilities for Kyle Pitts, and he could be what we thought he was going to be when he was drafted, that 1,000-yard tight end receiver threat. I think having him and Kelce on the same team, Kelce being the number one tight end for now, Pitts taking over for him the following year, man, that could be a match made in heaven, and I think the Falcons are interested in trading him. I think the Chiefs would make a ton of sense for Kyle Pitts. I honestly do. So Chiefs trading for Kyle Pitts would be the thing I think they need to do. Then we get into the Eagles. There weren't many needs for the Eagles, in my opinion. You could argue defensive back help. You could argue offensive line maybe. But I think the biggest hole that they have is its edge rusher, bringing in that rotational pass rusher. And there's a guy still out there, Von Miller. I know he's older, but he could be a great situational pass rusher. Think of like Dwight Freeney when he left the Indianapolis Colts late in his career and went to the Cardinals, where he was that rotational guy who could still put up good sack numbers, but wasn't in all three downs. Von Miller can't do that anymore. But put him in on third downs when he can peel his ears back and just go after the quarterback. I think that could be so beneficial for him, and I think the Eagles would definitely love that help, especially after Bryce Huff was a disaster for them last year. That's why they shipped him to the San Francisco 49ers. Bring in Von Miller. He's looking for another championship. The Eagles just got off winning the Super Bowl. Bring in Von Miller. Bring in that pass rush expertise, and to give them some more juice on that defense. So Von Miller to the Eagles, I think, is a move that the Eagles need to make. Then we get to the Washington Commanders. The biggest thing you guys need to do, bring back Terry McLaurin. Extend him. He's your number one receiver. He's been there through rough times and finally the good last year. Jaden Daniels wants you to resign him. He loves Terry McLaurin. The Commanders fans love Terry McLaurin. It would be a mistake to let him walk, to not give him another contract, to trade him. You need to extend him. Do not get rid of a good or a great piece, a great weapon for your young quarterback. That would, in my opinion, do more damage to Jaden Daniels than good, which would hurt the Commanders team as well. So extend Terry McLaurin. Give him the money that he deserves. And continuing on, we get to the Cowboys. There were rumors earlier on. Trayvon Diggs. I think the Cowboys need to trade him. They have spent so much money on their team, on CeeDee Lamb, on Dak Prescott. There's not a lot of star pieces over in Dallas. Micah Parsons, I believe, I don't know if he was extended yet or if they're planning on extending him, but he's going to cost a pretty penny. Trayvon Diggs dealt with a lot of injuries last year. He's dealt with a lot of injuries the past couple years. When on the field, he is an elite cornerback. But again, when he's on the field, that's the tough part. He has not been able to show that he can stay healthy. I think the Cowboys, instead of giving him an extension, because he's still the name and when he's on the field, he produces, he's going to get a good amount of money. I think the Cowboys won't be able to afford it. So what can you do? Trade him and get something back for him. Maybe to the Dolphins. The Dolphins could definitely use another number one cornerback. Would they be willing to trade for him? Possibly. But I think the Cowboys could definitely be in line to trade Trayvon Diggs. I think that's a move that needs to make. And I know Cowboys fans probably won't like that, but I think it's a big move that they would need to make. And the last one that I'm going to talk to you guys about is this one right here. The Giants, like I mentioned it already, their tight end room is a disaster. Theo Johnson is not a number one tight end in this NFL league. He is a okay, solid number two option, but they need a number one. Right now on the Raiders, they have Brock Bowers. Michael Mayer is the number two option. Michael Mayer is still young. He can block. He's a solid receiver as well. I think the Giants need to trade for him. Bring him in, make him your number one tight end. He's still a young option for Jackson Dart for the future. Give Jackson Dart a young tight end who's solid as a receiver and great as a blocker. I think that would be beneficial for the Giants. I think that's a move that they need to make. Bringing in Michael Mayer, trading for him, might cost you a mid-round pick, but in the long run, it'll help your young quarterback later down the road when he's eventually starts for your team. All right. So honestly, guys, these are all the moves that I have for all the NFL teams, moves that I think they need to make. Honestly, these are moves that could help out these teams in some way, shape, or form, whether it's getting more draft picks, whether it's bringing in great talent or keeping great talent, young talent, or even some older talent. These are what I think would be beneficial for these teams, what they need to do. If you guys think I missed anything, if you think some of these moves are not the best for them, let me know. I would love to hear from you guys. And again, please like and subscribe to these videos. It really helps out the channel. It gets these videos through the algorithm. It helps me out a ton. And I really want you to enjoy them. I enjoy these videos for you guys that I make for you guys. And I just really hope you enjoy them as well. Thank you guys so much for joining me again in the JETS Jets Ward. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one.